Oh, okay. I was wondering. I thought I had it level. Okay. All right.
We put that in a cover letter, or we can put that on the application.
Tried to be done.
We can put something across the top submitted by council. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Return all employees to. Oh, I can do that, yeah. I figured there's so many people out there with those things, you can't keep track of that. There's one of the few places that you see a lot of bars. There's other places you see.
Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday, July 16, 2014, approximately 9:32 a.m. I'd like to start with the introduction of the let's try this again. I'd like to start with the introduction of the commissioners. A roll call this morning.
Commissioner Casey?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaufman?
Here.
Commissioner Alvarado?
Here.
Commissioner Fickley? Here. Commissioner Baker?
Here.
Commissioner Urap?
Here.
Commissioner Decker?
Here.
Commissioner Edwards? Here. Commissioner Wooten?
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Very good. Next, I'd like to have an introduction of the audience. Please introduce yourself. Starting with the Deputy Director.
I'm the Deputy Director for CID, MHD, Justin Wolf.
I'm Pat McMurray, Director of MHD and CID.
Amanda Roybal, Investigations.
Clay Bailey, CID, LP Gas Bureau.
Kelly Hudd, Electrical Bureau.
J.T. Baca, Mechanical Plumbing Bureau Chief.
Martino Merrill, General Construction Bureau Chief.
Judith Card, private citizen from New Mexico and Santa Fe.
Welcome.
Mike Minicucci with Calvert Minicucci.
Martha Murillo with CID MHD Compliance.
Victoria Pacheco, intern from the Governor's Office for CID.
Jared Armijo, intern from the Governor's Office for CID.
I'm Jack Malark with New Mexico Home Builders Association.
Derek Childers, City of Farmington Building Inspection.
Leo Hardy, City of Farmington Building Inspection.
Mike Savage, City of Rio Rancho, Chief Building Official.
Andy Domi, CID Licensing.
Francine Hernandez, PSI.
Diane Goodman, Albuquerque Citizen.
Bob DeLahunt, Construction Seminars.
Ron Behill, Chief Electrical Inspector for Central Region.
Nina Hollander, Construction Industries Electrical Inspector.
Greg Lucero, Pond Ferry Manager, CID.
I guess the camera is not going to introduce himself.
Mike Strick, quote unquote.
Very good. Thank you. Next, I'd like to approve the agenda.
Move for approval.
Second. Motion by Brown, second by Decker. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Public comment, I'm going to allow anybody who would like to speak, raise your hand, and I will allow you up to 2 minutes to tell us what it is you're here to discuss, and we want to hear your comments. Please proceed.
We need a little more than 2 minutes. We'll have to try to squeeze it. I'm here as a private citizen, to know what each of you in these three groups, construction industries, the compliance division, and finally this commission, can and will do to protect the private citizen. I have complaints and had complaints against a roofer, and I submitted it to construction industries. 3 to 4 years later, I had a major leak in the roof, which I paid to have replaced with a torch down bituminous, I may get this wrong, bribery, and major leaks to the point of having massive water coming down in one of the closets in one of my bedrooms, with water and pumice pouring out of the roof. It cost me over $1,000 personally to get this repaired. I was never reimbursed. My roof was inspected by, because I filed this complaint, inspected by Omar Halama, some other man, and Martin. He took photos. Now, that was in 2008, about 30 years after the roof was installed, 3 to 4, I have all of this. When I tried to get papers from construction industries, I'm told, oh no, we have no papers on your case because we are required to keep those papers only 2 years. I am horrified at that. Absolutely horrified, because that favors every one of you who are in construction people, because most private citizens will not keep the papers. I did, and I have a complete set of records. I've tried construction industries to get work for my file, nothing. I've gone to the Attorney General's office personally, have been there twice, trying to get records from the Attorney General's office. No, they have no record of my case, no record. I finally submitted another request in writing, still another, to the Attorney General's office. By today, I still haven't received anything, nothing. Told there is nothing on my case. Now this spring, again, I have leaks. I called the roofer. I said, would you come out and look at this? This needs some repair work. He said, I'm not required to. Your warranty's not any good anymore because I filed a complaint with CID. I'm still under warranty. I can't get him to come out and do anything. I want to read you one sentence out of the inspection report. I won't name the roofer. Has placed pumice under modified bitumen, which is a code violation. He did not follow industry standards and therefore will be required to replace modified bitumen with a new roofing system done in accordance with the manufacturer's guidelines. Modified bitumen, never mind, I won't read it just described the report. I want to know why I was told by Martin that this commission closed the case. This major leak happened in 2008. I don't know when you dealt with this roofer. I was not notified. Somewhere in this report, it said that the attorney from this roofer had agreed to contact me and try to settle out of a formal hearing. He never tried to contact me either by writing or by phone. Now, if that's not enough happening, I had a solar panel up on my roof to heat the water in my home. Do you know what he did in placing this roof on my house? He cut all the pipes and roofed right over it. him to reinstall that. He refused. Then he wants to haul it away for me. I called a dealer who sells these, and they said that's top of the line unit. Don't let him take that away. I didn't. It's now sitting since 2008 up on my upper roof. I don't know whether your commission can do anything about this situation. I am a member of the public who feels like I've been wronged and nobody is willing to do anything. I don't know which of you represents the Attorney General's office. Why can I not get my case? I even have my case number that I submitted to Construction Industries. I can't get any records from Construction Industries and none from the Attorney General's office. I've been told more than once by two people, no, they have no record of my case. I'm pretty upset, as you can tell. I want to know why that case against this roofer was closed. I didn't even know it came before this commission, thanks to this man who informed me about the existence of this commission. I am here today, and I'm voicing objections galore, and I'm saying to all three of you, what the heck do you do? What are you legally allowed to do to help to protect the consumer and penalize a roofer who acts like this? I mean, I am naive. Are you allowed to impose fines? Are you allowed to do something to question his license? Are you allowed to make this one? I think is not true, but I first wrote down, are you allowed to make good or damages to the consumer for a roof that's still under warranty? You can tell I'm upset. It's not because I'm upset that you're having difficulty hearing me. I do have a vocal disorder. So it's not, I mean, yes, I'm upset. But I want to know what you can do. What do you do? What does Construction Industries do? Hey, you're going to benefit all of you contractors by getting rid of all of the records in 2 years. I think that's absolutely wrong from the standpoint of the citizen. How many citizens do you think retained all of their records? I did. Thank goodness, because I can't get them from anywhere else. I want to know what you can do. I thank Mr. Martin Romero for giving me the information that this commission exists. And I'm hopeful that you all will address cases like mine in a manner which will help protect the consumer. I'm upset, yes, and I feel rightly so. What if you had your solar panel cut off the roof and just roofed over, and the roofer just refuses to reinstall? I've gotten estimates on how much it would cost to replace it. Just this morning on NPR, I hear what it costs for a new solar system. Now, true, that probably was the whole kind of heating system. Mine was only for the water. Please tell me what you have the power to do and are willing to do. I've been wronged and I'm angry.
Thank you. And we certainly share your concerns. One thing I would like to mention is this thing happened in 2008, correct?
The roof was installed. The agreement is November 10, 2004. I think installation didn't start. I have it all. Didn't start for a little while. The first major leak was in 2008. Okay. And I have a written signed statement from an engineer who worked at Sandia National Labs, very well qualified, who got involved. They wouldn't send people out for days. He got up there and he describes the crack. He describes the ceiling. I have that also. And he's well qualified to describe it. But this was in violation of your code not to use pumice. And pumice pours down into my closet.
Correct. And I understand your frustration. Please don't think that we're trying to downplay that in any form, fashion. The work was done in 2008. You filed. No, the work. In 04, you had a problem and filed in 2008.
No, the roof was installed either right at the end of 04 or the beginning of 05. I can dig it out.
No, that's all right. What I would like to offer, number one, the commission is here for, to oversee and ensure that the code is being enforced. And one of the things that I would like to ask you is, and I always like to tell the public, when you choose a contractor, please do your due diligence. And I realize that this is water under the bridge, but we just always try to send out a message, a public service announcement, that it's imperative that the public inform themselves that don't hire the cheapest contractor out there. Don't hire somebody that's unlicensed. Don't hire somebody that doesn't have a good reputation of doing work. And in this case here, I don't know the specifics of your case. I would possibly ask the director that maybe you can look into this and find out see what you can find out. Maybe we can get a response. I'm sorry, your last name again?
Clark.
Miss Clark, who was so gracious to come in here and basically explain to us her frustrations. I share that frustration with you because I've heard many other cases where people have gone in and have been wronged in some form, fashion, or another, and tried to come up with some resolution for at least finding out what happened to her case and what happened. But yes, ma'am.
One comment. It's as if you're saying I didn't do my homework before. I asked for a list of references. I even have those that he gave me. And there are 8 or 10 people on this list.
Okay. Ma'am, I apologize if you think that I was referring that you did not do your homework. I'm saying that there are a lot of consumers out there that do not do their homework. And then we end up getting contacted as a commission where somebody has spent $70,000, $80,000 of their hard-earned money to hire somebody who's unlicensed that ends up doing a shabby job and taking off with money. All the commissioners here can share stories with you of that. And one of the things that we were trying to do is ensure that contractors are responsible for the work that they do, that they are properly licensed, that they are ready to do the job and do the job right, and that we do hold them accountable for their actions. I can't explain to you what happened prior to this commission. Basically came together in 2012, so that was 4 years prior to this commission being installed. Yes, ma'am.
Once you review his case, I guess is what came before here. I can't get any records. And why did you close the case? And does that now invalidate my warranty? I'm still under warranty, yet he claims I'm not. I had an attorney review these papers. The attorney said he saw nothing to invalidate my warranty.
As far as your warranty, that would have to be something you'd have to take up with your attorney and the contractor himself, because we cannot enforce a warranty issue. That would have to be a civil suit between you and your contractor. And as to when the case was dismissed, I don't know what date it was dismissed. We can research that and find out. I'd be more than glad to come up with something, Ms. Clark, and get back with you at some time. in the near future. Maybe we can find something out in the next 30 days and see what we can do. But that's the best that I can do for you today, and I apologize if you feel that you were wronged in that situation. It sounds like you got a bad installation, and you know, we're trying to do our best to clean up the acts of non-licensed contractors throughout the state. You know, we're all involved in the construction industry in some form, fashion, or another, and we're trying to make sure that the public is taken care of, and the fact that the contractors are held accountable for their actions and ensuring that the work they're doing is quality work.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chairman Baker, members, I spoke with Ms. Clark on the phone several weeks ago, and I would be glad to meet with her and go through some of the issues that she's raised today and see what we can find out further. This case was heard by a previous commission several years back, and a decision and settlement was made. Perhaps there's some litigation that could be brought forward, and we can just meet with her and discuss this with her and maybe find out a little more details about the situation. I'd be glad to do that.
Very good, thank you. You seem like a sweet lady. You know, I would not want my mother to experience something like that. And, you know, we certainly take these kind of accusations seriously, and we'll do whatever we can to sit there and assist you. And I give you my word on that. So
well,
you can take that to the bank, by the way.
Yeah, which portion?
The fact that I'll seek to we find out everything we possibly can.
Okay. Sorry, but by this point, I'm upset.
You know, it's people like you that take the time to come out and share their experiences that gives us the acknowledgement that we are fighting the fight for the right reasons and to help and get things resolved. And thank you very much. You can understand why we try to limit to 2 minutes, because if I had 4 or 5 missed Clarks today, we'd be getting out after 6 o'clock. But we do share your concerns, and thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
With that, does anybody else have to say anything today? Yes, ma'am. Please stand up and introduce yourself.
My name is Diane Goodman. I'm a resident of Albuquerque. I also have a roof problem, as some of you may know.
Darn roofers.
But there's others too, as I have found out through my process. But anyway, I was saddened to read Robert and Julie Elliott's public comment at the last CIC meeting. I will read excerpts of the comments. Mr. Elliott said they had been through living hell since 2011, trying to rectify their situation with Sears. The state needs to send a strong message that it will not tolerate code violations and needs to act swiftly and strongly to abate them, states Mr. Elliott. It is the CIC's charge to protect the public. It is now 3 years later, and he is still fighting with the Construction Industries Commission. He threatened to go to the press if CIC didn't reopen this case. I'm not surprised at their strong statements or this lady, Miss Clark, today. I have had a similar experience with a contractor, the City of Albuquerque, and the Construction Industries Division. That is why we, the people, have started the Government Accountability Coalition that will educate the public on cases like this to ensure that this pattern and practice stop. I urge Robert and Julie Elliott, Miss Clark, and any other citizens who have had experiences they want to share with the public to contact the Government Accountability Coalition hotline, which can be reached toll-free at 866-904-4170, or by email at nmvoice@hotmail.com, as in New Mexico Voice. You can also find them at nmvoice.org. I invite each of you, as public servants, both within CID and CIC, to join with the Government Accountability Coalition to improve the quality of construction in New Mexico and address the patterns and practices that have allowed this to happen to the Elliots, Miss Clark, myself, and so many others. We hope that you will work with us in our mission. I quote Mayor Berry on July 14, 2014. People are welcome to protest. We just hope that they would take some of that energy and some of that, activism and get down to working with us on solutions, Barry said. I requested a meeting with Mayor Barry on June 27th, and I'm awaiting his response. The Government Accountability Coalition has solutions. I await your phone call so we can start making Albuquerque and New Mexico all that it can be. I am providing you a copy of my comments here today and ask that they be placed in the minutes of this meeting verbatim.
Pardon me, would you repeat that phone number?
I can see you afterwards. Okay?
That it?
Does anybody have any questions?
Not at this moment. Ms.
Okay.
Clark, did you have a question?
Not a question. I'm also providing this commission a copy of a longer version of my comments today. You were squeezing me, so I did cut it down.
Who should I give this to? Would that be you?
Anybody else? Thank you for the comments.
I have a question.
Question?
Yeah, do you only represent licensed roofers, or is that who you have a regulation over?
We represent regulation and licensing. You know, when you say do we represent non-licensed contractors, we're hoping that there are no unlicensed contractors. But unfortunately, as there are undocumented workers, there's also unlicensed contractor activity, and we're here to combat that any way we can. And you know, the only thing that I can suggest that anybody does prior to hiring a contractor is do the same thing you do when you ask about a good school or where to buy a good car. Use references, ask people, get references not only from the contractors, maybe different contractors, suppliers, or other customers that they've done work for. Do a little bit of research. You're spending money on a project that's probably your largest investment, and you certainly want to ensure that that investment is well taken care of. And I certainly would not want to see anybody have to suffer a situation. And then if there are occurrences, then you have some recourse to go back and ensure that that contractor does his job. Is that it?
Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Please, feel free. Today seems like today. Director's report. Welcome, Director. Oh, I'm sorry. Which one? Oh, I did want to mention, I'm supposed to do this right after public comment, which we're right after public comment.
Can I add one more public comment? Just
one quick one.
I just wanted to make note that the director's reports previous to Mr. McMurray have been part of the public record, which you can get online. And since Mr. McMurray has started, they said see attached in the online report. So, and they do not attach them. I requested them the Monday, a week ago last Monday. I was not given any answer as to whether I could get access to them. So I ended up having to do an IPRA and IPRA to try to get those records, and I've only gotten a confirmation that they've acknowledged it, but I have not received the director's reports. I believe that it's important that the director's report be included on the online CIC records so that all public can have access to that information.
You know what, we'll look into that and see what the delay is on there, and thank you very much for bringing that up.
Sure.
That is public information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Comment on July 8, 2014, certain members of the commission participated in a special meeting at the State Bar Center, which was closed to the public. Notice of the special closed meeting was provided to the public pursuant to Open Meeting Acts in accordance with the Commission's Open Meeting Resolution pursuant to NMSA 1978, Section 10-15-1J. Let the minutes reflect that the matters discussed in this July 8, 2014 special closed meeting were limited only to those specified in the notice of separate closed meeting. I'm required to read this by my attorney, so thank you very much. Next item, the director's report. Thank you, sir, for being here.
Thank you, Commissioner Baker and Commissioner. There's no issue with the director's report. It is public information, and I'm more than happy to provide that. We can incorporate that into the minutes in the future, or reference that. However, we'll certainly look into that issue. We are exploring the better use. I think each of you have a copy of that in your books. But we're exploring the use of the CID MHD call center in Albuquerque. Amanda Rohrball, our compliance manager, has met with the call center folks and their supervisor, and we're looking into adding phone calls for compliance to go to the call center so that they are responded to and answered by personnel and not just an answering machine. Trying to better the customer service that we had in the past. We're starting a pilot program on that. If the call center is able to add that load to their already the calls that they're already received, and you'll see later in the report, it's approximately 6,000 calls a month. That we will do so. We're also looking at maybe having to add an additional person at the call center to take care of this. But the idea is to get, when people call in on all calls to CID or MHD, that they get a person on the line and not an answering machine. So we're working on that issue. Also want to point out that we were recognized at a recognition celebration by UNM Hospital, UNMH, acknowledged CID and our plan review folks, our general construction, electrical, and mechanical bureau, for their immediate attention to the accident where the helicopter crashed on top of the hospital. And we responded very well to that, and just within a matter of days, the 6th floor was back up and running, and they were very appreciative of our partnering with them at that time, and with the city of Albuquerque and all the emergency folks involved in that situation. Special thanks to Commissioner Vince Alvarado and the Sheet Metal Workers Local Union 49 for their leadership and hospitality. They provided a facility for us to meet in, and just recently we had a very good training program for the Construction Industries Division, the Mechanical and General Construction Bureaus, and the State Fire Marshal's Office. Responded to a state memorial of 27 that was introduced in the last legislature. I'll read that. It was introduced by Senator Michael S. Sanchez, Senators Gay G. Kerman, Richard C. Martinez, Gerald Ortiz-Pino, and Michael Padilla. A memorial requesting that the State Fire Marshal convene a meeting and a working group to study and make recommendations concerning the inspection, testing, and maintenance of fire dampers, smoke dampers, and smoke control systems. This meeting was held. It was a work session. There was a guest speaker, Tony Keurig, with Energy Balance and Integration. Did a very, very good presentation. And Steve Cox with the Santa Fe Fire Marshal also presented, as did J.P. Baca, our Mechanical Bureau Chief, and Martin Romero, our General Construction. It was, CEUs were provided, and it was over 50 people attended, including City of Albuquerque and others. So really building a relationship with the State Fire Marshal's Office and working with them, looking at this real important issue of fire protection. Also a thanks to Kelly Hunt, our Bureau Chief Electrical. He arranged NFPA training. We held that on June the 24th. We had an instructor, NFPA code specialist, flew in and led that training, and they provided softbound copies of the 2014 NEC. Were provided at no cost to all the inspectors, and as you know, that code will be adopted this year. We have completed all the employee evaluations for FY 2013 and 2014 as required by the state of New Mexico. And that may sound like just checking the box or something like that, but we really did a mandatory training this year where I had all the bureau chiefs and chiefs of various bureaus, as well as my managers, attend, and we looked at the filling out the employee evaluations. Really spent some time on that, met with each employee, each chief met with the field bureaus, met with their chiefs and the field, and I met with the bureaus and some of the chiefs and some of the field as well. And we discussed various issues of their employment. giving constructive criticism and feedback to them where they can make improvements. And it was very appreciated by the whole group, and I think it was very appreciated by me. It educated me a lot on what is really happening in the field, some of the things that they have to deal with. But it was difficult, but I think very worthwhile. We're making progress on our vacancy rate. When I took office, we were approximately 22 or something like that percent, and I think we're pushing more towards the 14 to 16% now. We have 13 positions though that are currently being advertised, and you can see that on my report of where those are located. And we're waiting. There's some positions waiting to be advertised throughout the state. There's others that are waiting for a list of applicants, and so we continue to work with SPO and try to fill those positions. I would say that we're having a very difficult time attracting inspectors for the salaries that we're allowed to provide, and it's really starting to show. We're starting to lose some inspectors to people that are offering a larger salary, and we can't blame them for making a change if it's better for them and their families. And so it's very hard not only to find people qualified for this task, but also to keep them and retain them. So I guess I solicit your help in any way you can to help discuss this with people above my pay grade on how we might look at attracting and getting more commensurate pay with what's out there in the private sector. We're going to really have a push this next year to at least get our inspectors to mid-level within the range that they certainly are ranked on the salary ranking schedule. So trying to get everyone to at least the mid-range on that. New hires, we announced Justin Wolf last meeting, our new deputy director, and it's really great to have Justin on board. He's very knowledgeable in all the processes and procedures, and with the background of litigation, it brings a whole new level of management to CID and MHD. I'm very appreciative of that. And recently we reclassified Jesus Carrasco, who's been acting as a field coordinator to the bureau chief, to the facility, manufactured housing group, and CID, to the position of bureau chief of manufactured housing division. So now the MHD has a bureau chief just like we have in CID. We also are making very good progress towards bringing MHD alongside CID and including them as part of a total agency group, and we're trying to get everyone to look at this agency, since the director is responsible for both entities, that need to be combined but yet retain some autonomy. We really are making progress towards elevating and training the inspectors of MHD so that they're at the same level as a residential combination inspector for that CID has in place now. Our bureau chiefs will be helping them in a training program and developing a new certification for the inspectors in HD. And we had they're called a committee meeting. Yours is commission, theirs is committee. We had that yesterday with them, and it went very well. We had total support from the manufactured housing industry, and I think we're seeing a lot of progress there. They had their recent annual awards dinner, and myself, Jesus Carrasco, and Superintendent Unthink attended, and they recognized the government partnership that we're creating with that industry. So that's a step forward.
Did you serve a cake with a manufactured house sitting on top of it?
Exactly.
I didn't know.
Really beautiful. Plans and permitting report. We have, you can see that on page 3, total plans reviewed, 418, 130 were commercial, 226 were residential. Plans for the month of in June 2014, there were 479 plans reviewed, 150 were commercial, 256 were residential, 94 were electronic plans reviewed, 36 were schools. In total, the electrical residential was 862, electrical commercial was 401, mechanical residential 671, mechanical commercial 272, and LP gas residential and commercial 798. The following page gives you a graphic representation of those various elements and shows you graphically kind of where we are on the charts there with numbers and monetary value of those permits and plans that have been the major project in your RIMCO on page 5, we report out. This is down in the Eunice area. Total number of inspections in structural since our last meeting was 6,552. Electrical, 6,328. And mechanical, 2,933. We have a total inspections to date on that project is 15,800. We have several inspectors that live on site and are trained on site. Very successful project. As I've reported previously, this project will come to an end probably in late 2015, early 2016. They're on schedule, and once all buildings and facilities are completed, they will have a value of about, they spend about $4 billion, it would be $4 billion in the state of Mexico for this plant. The call center report there, you can see that in May and June, in May the call center took in 5,700 calls, a little over 5,700, and in June close to 6,000, 5,946. John, Jean, and Jeanette are all instrumental in answering those calls each and every day. And they also now will be taking on this pilot program, as I mentioned earlier, for compliance calls, so we can better respond to complaints that are received. And we'll let you know how that program evolves. Starting on page 6, each bureau chief submits their report each month. And in General Construction Bureau, I'll just highlight these. In May, just a note there that we continue to meet with the project manager from GSD and the State Fire Marshal and other folks with the City of Albuquerque on the Plaza Maya project. It's going very well, and it's on schedule. We've also met with the Expo New Mexico. Had several meetings on site, and Justin Wolf was instrumental in putting together an MOU that has been signed and agreed by all on how we can really a checklist on temporary events, especially things such as automobile shows, things like that, what needs to happen to ensure the safety of the general public and not over-display the various events. Our marshal is very much involved in this. We're working very closely with John Luby and his supervisor, State Fire Marshal Sanford, and they're on board with us, and I think we're seeing a relationship there that's better than it's been in the past. We appreciate their involvement on all of our projects. We've been working with public school facility authorities on several schools, issues that have come up. There's one noted there in Ruidoso. We're helping with the contractor understands the issues there, and no problem. He's coming back. He's back there working this summer to fix some of the issues that were discovered on investigative reporting that we were involved in, along with the architect and engineers for that project. We've met with the City of Santa Fe and with the Albuquerque Public Schools and other entities around the state regarding annual permits and their usage and really the scope of those annual permits. This is unfortunately not uncommon, especially in schools, the use of annual permitting and exceeding the scope that's allowed under statute by rule in that annual permit. So we put together a PowerPoint. Martine Romero put this together along with JT Baca and Kelly Hunt, and we've gone to several entities and given that presentation on what they can and cannot do under the direction and authority of an annual permit. And when they need to, then they exceed that, come back and get a special permit for additional scope of work. And these municipalities and other entities seem very thankful and appreciative of the help that we're providing along those lines. We've also, under the General Construction Bureau, they looked at significant changes to the 2012 building codes were discussed in the TAC, and the decision was made and voted on to move to the review and hopeful adoption of the 2015 code, skipping the 2012 for several reasons, cost being one to implement that code and the responsive ramifications that it might have. It was also discussed in that fact that if we do decide to adopt the 2015 code, that they would recommend at this point in time at least to keep in place the 2009 energy code. And we can do that within the statute, and that's just a recommendation that's being looked at. It's in the very early stages now, but we do hope to, as we recently have adopted the electrical code 2014, we want to move to the 2015 on the construction and others. We've also, you may have saw something in the newspapers about Ames Charter School. It's Albuquerque Institute of Mathematics and Science, wanting to relocate their facilities or a portion of their facilities. This is a highly political decision, and we're not involved in that, nor will we become involved in that, but we were called on just to look at the facility that they were anticipating using to see if it was, if it met code and what, if any improvements and costs might be incurred if they were to move some of the students to this different location. And we did that, and very successful meeting, and it turns out that the facility they were looking at could be occupied with no, it's already within the statute and with the code, the occupancy load, etc., that they were anticipating. But we're staying out of any decisions that might be made from the local entity on whether to move into that facility or not. On page 7, inspector meetings was held with the state inspector, state inspectors and municipal inspectors in various areas. And again, Martina Romero did a training program on roofing issues, which seem to be prevalent today. And they discussed issues that we are tied to with CID. Again, there's a very fine line of understanding on what we can do providing code compliance versus consumer protection. And it's unfortunate sometimes we want to do more in the consumer protection side, but we don't have that authority. So at that point it moves into more of a litigation issue and a court of law issue.
Correct. And Mrs. Clark, if we had the ability to tar and feather somebody, put up a bad roof, we would.
Just one comment, Ken. This is a very well-known roofer in Santa Fe.
The next note is again another school. We had a fascia, rock fascia that just fell off the side of the building this summer. Unfortunately, school was out and no kids were there. We were called on. We looked into that. We discovered some issues of lack of ties per plans and specs to tie the rock onto the wall, and so we're doing some destructive removal and working with Public School Facility Authority on that and the contractor and getting that put back together. But just to show you that we can be and should be more than just code interpretation and permitting. We have expertise, we can help, we can be consultants to some of these folks and help them out in that direction. The Electrical Bureau report, we continue to work in the southeast part of the state, oil and gas areas. We're keeping up with the new wells and new sites and new projects coming online. We're still behind and trying to catch up on the re-inspection of previous oil wells and sites. We've also been working with the New Mexico Groundwater Association on specialty licensing that they requested and a retesting that they requested, and we worked with them on that went into effect on July the 1st of 2014. It reduces the scope of their particular group, and it's easier for them to get licensed and hire personnel they need in the field to perform the requirements that they're looking for. So we've been working with that group as well. We hosted an NFPA post-adoption training, since we have and are adopting the 2014 electrical code, and it was a very good training session. Electrical inspectors throughout the state attended, and we're ready to move forward with the the adoption and enforcement of the new code. Mechanical Bureau, again, touching on the fact that they're very involved and have been working very closely with the city of Albuquerque on the Maya Plaza building. We've already talked about that. Same with the Expo projects that happened there. And we also met with the New Mexico Energy and Minerals Group and their administration, Luis Martinez, Harold Trujillo, and Brian Johnson, talking about the requirement that we need to be in 90% compliance with our current code of adoption. We showed them that we were and how we were achieving that benchmark, and we had good meetings with those folks and keeping them in the loop on our progress there. On the mechanical side, JT Baca, our bureau chief there, has been meeting with Metro Area Gas Company technicians and local municipal gas inspectors for the training PowerPoint program. CEUs are offered. Again, just trying to bring a better quality of training to all the folks that we work with and create professional relationships with those entities, with CID. We also had an all-day, again, the Fire Marshals group, where Steve Cox presented along with JT Baca and Martina O'Neill. And then a TAC meeting at the Mechanical Bureau, they too are looking at the 2015 code, and they're hoping to have that adopted by January of 2015. So we'll keep you posted on our review and the issues that will be required to adopt those codes and the effect it would have. LP Gas Bureau, they're right in the middle of their special events and inspections. You can see lists there of numerous events that they inspect each and every day. It's a very busy time for them. Bureau Chief Bailey is very involved. He's doing a lot of ride-alongs with his inspectors, and it really gives him an opportunity to specialize in training catered to each inspector's abilities and areas of their expertise. So really appreciate what Bureau Chief Bailey is doing there. They introduced themselves. We have two interns from the governor's office that have been working with us this summer, and Victoria Pacheco is one of those, and she's going to school in business and film, and so this has fit very nicely into this program, and Bureau Chief Bailey has taken her on several sites of the movie and TV sites and events, and she's been able to be part of that inspection program, and I think her full-time job is to try to keep Bureau Chief Bailey out of trouble, which she's doing a fairly good job. But it's definitely full-time position.
Has he joined the Screen Actors Guild yet?
He hasn't, but I understand that Ms. Pacheco was in the director's seat the other day at some film set and had the headsets on and was directing traffic. I don't know if she was yelling at Clay or was talking to the filmmakers. But I've never been on those film sets, so she's getting a closer look than I have. So. But it's great to have the interns from the governor's office here. Jared is very active with us as well as an intern, and has been working with the compliance group, and is looking to hopefully maybe do some work this summer in that area, in the Las Cruces area, as he goes back to school this summer. So it's been very valuable to us to have them on board. On the compliance cases, we have a total of 793 active investigations currently going on. We have unlicensed 268 compliance issues, total license issues 191, and we have 263 pending in the Attorney General's office. MHD, Infection Housing Division, we have a total of 71 that compliance cases are pending. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Mr. Chairman.
Since we never seem to have roofing problems till it rains in the state of New Mexico, which is rare and rare. It seems to me like, and maybe we have this, but on our website, do we have a consumer tip sheet relative to re-roofing and things to look for in a contractor, how a consumer could go online and query our databases to see whether that contractor is licensed things that a consumer might look for relative to questions that they could ask regarding warranties or other types of things. I mean, it seems to me like, yeah, we are in the consumer protection business, but as we found out, we're also in the consumer education business. And I would think, and maybe this is something that Commissioner Alvarado can help us with, is that our industry is very concerned about our reputation. And so when one consumer gets a bad roof, we do take it personally. We take it personally. I know Vince does. He represents membership that are top-of-the-line roofers. There's certifications that roofing companies need to go through. There are other things that reputable companies have to do that they could assert to you as a consumer, and that's not your job, right? You're relying on what you're dealing with there. So I'm just wondering if part of this couldn't be on our site, kind of, here's a checklist, does the contractor have a license? Yes. Has the contractor provided you with references? Yes. Is the contractor a national certified roofer, if there is such a certification? Yes. I mean, again, I don't think it'd be that tough to do. I mean, I look at the number of inspectors we're down. I'm not trying to add work to your workload, but we're literally probably going to get a flood, no pun intended, of complaints about roofing. And last night I was up with my pan underneath my roof leak that I can't seem to track down and put 5 pounds of black tar stuff up there. And my 17-year-old's up there today doing that. But so it's we have a lot of flat roofs in our state, and they have a tendency to leak. So that is nice and my 17-year-old.
I saw notes being taken by the investigators.
I'll give you my home. But I just throw that out there because we know that we're going to get complaints.
Yeah. Chairman Baker, Commissioner Decker, very good points. That's something we can do. We do encourage the general public to get on our website or call CID immediately on any project, not just roofing projects. This unlicensed contractor is a huge issue throughout the state of New Mexico. They can check, it takes less than 3 minutes to check with CID to see if the contractor that they're looking at hiring is licensed. We'll be more than happy to give that information. They can go on the website and find it. We are in the process of looking at redoing our website to make it more customer friendly. When it gets to I think a checklist of things to be thinking about is something we definitely could add to the website. However, I do think the Consumer Protection Agency, Attorney General's office, probably already has something like that on your website. Perhaps, I don't know. Okay. But that's something under the Consumer Protection Division, they may have something to do that. But we can certainly look into that. I think that's a great suggestion. Thank you.
And I just to add on to that, I think if you were doing that, a little education on exactly where we stop with regards to code compliance and where the civil system would pick up with regard to consumer protection would be good too, so that there's not a lot of people wasting their time.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, you're out. That's what we're looking at right now. I think you probably all had a chance to play with our website. It's very confusing. It's not very user friendly. So we are looking at just revamping the entire website, separating out CID from the commission, from the manufactured housing, from the committee, as well as the other programs we have under our belt. The consumer aspect is something we need to really focus on. We need to make sure that their expectations are clear up front as to what we can do for them, what our duties are. Of course, we all know that we're in the business of dealing with licensees and need discipline for actions, code violations or otherwise. But the consumer protection aspect isn't something that we have to charge or authority over. Correct. And so getting those kind of resources out there, I think is something that we've wanted to do for a while now. It's just a matter of really revamping the website. So that's how most of the public interact with us.
Well, we certainly want to do what we can. So,
agreed.
Young ladies like Mrs. Clark do not come in here and think that we're not doing our job. We want to make sure that we're being proactive in situations like that.
And along the lines of the website, you also check too, because it's possible to access the complaint form from 2 different places on the website. When you do, it's 2 different complaint forms. so.
Yeah, we need to update all of our complaint forms, all of our just forms in general. I think there's a need right now for us to really get everything consistent throughout the office, and the entire department, but as well as our division as well. So we need to really take a hard look at. So
Commissioner
Casey, you want to give them some suggestions on how to revamp that? I know
The website?
Not the website.
Chairman Baker, you could appoint him to a subcommittee to help us.
Subcommittee.
My compliments for you figuring out you liked hanging around contractors more than attorneys. So.
It's a more natural group for me.
Here's a start. One other thing on the adoption of the 2014 NEC Electrical Code NFPA 70. My compliments to Kelly Hunt and the ETAC committee for the work that they did. I think it was outstanding. I've been involved in the electrical industry for over 30 years. Grew up in it, so I guess actually longer than that. But I just want to commend you on the work that you did in getting that passed through, and I think we're looking for adoption August 1st, I believe.
As I understand the proceedings, we adopted 521. The effective date is April.
Good job. Anyway, thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Anything else? Any other comments?
Mr. Chair, if I may, members of the commission, right now it's a really busy season for us. I need to commend our staff. We have our bureau chiefs are working very close with their people, our compliance, as well as our support staff. I think our support staff doesn't get enough recognition, but right now it's very busy. We haven't our staff for a while, and I'm really happy with the way we stepped up.
Very good. Thank you for that comment, too.
One more comment.
Yes,
This
sir.
is regarding Mr. Murray saying that we're having a hard time attracting inspectors. And I know a couple years ago under our former director, it actually approached to try to raise the pay grades of the inspectors, and the GAO said it wasn't warranted. And so I think it would be in all our best interest that I think you have to go up into the legislature and see if we can do something legislative around it, because the GAO flat out told us it wasn't warranted. But you're right. I mean, to hire an electrical inspector, not hurt and who can no longer work, but they still know the trade. And so somehow we got to find a way to open up our pool of prospective inspectors and get these things filled. This is the one industry where if we don't get an inspection, we get shut down. The restaurants can go on forever till they get an inspection. We don't do them, we can't work. So it's, I don't know that the legislature understands that or the GAO understands it or anything, but, this is one industry that we can't work without inspectors. So
That's correct, Chairman Baker, Commissioner Casey. Good point. What is happening is we are becoming a training ground for these people to move on. And so our best inspectors, the contractors and subcontractors, are seeing them on their job, doing their job, and they're hiring them away from us. And it's a problem. You can't blame them. They need to better themselves. I don't fault them at all. But we need to certainly be more competitive. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Casey, we're having a really difficult time in the southeast portion of the state. It's just really difficult to keep up with the differences in salaries that are offered. And I think you're all aware of that. I mean, we have, it's a big boom for us down there. It's good for the state, but it's difficult for us to hold on to inspectors.
Thank you. Next item, old business, approval of 2000, Council, did you have something? You're kicking me. Where are you kicking me? Okay. Approval of May 21st, 2014 meeting minutes.
Chairman Baker, members of the Commission, I have reviewed the minutes that have been presented to you. I do believe they meet sufficiency under the Open Meetings Act requirements, and that they also accurately reflect the proceedings of the May 21st, 2014 meeting. I would like to thank Kathy Tuarte for her very hard work and dedication in cleaning up the minutes and making sure they're accurate and coherent, and I think we've come a long way. So with that, I would recommend that you adopt them as presented.
So moved. Second. Motion, Commissioner Yurek, second by Commissioner Decker. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item. New business. Request for approval to proceed to public hearing. A1, Rule 14.5.2.8, G, and H, NMAC permits.
Chairman Baker, Commissioners, this is our second time at the well on this one. We brought this modified rule back before the Commission 521, and the request was made at the meeting on 521 to revisit the letter that had been published by previous Director Tavelli regarding racking and mounting systems for PV arrays, and to incorporate language into the rule. We got the approval to go ahead with public hearing once we included that language, but we struggled with the language far enough that we missed our window of opportunity to really go to public hearing. So it's just convenient to bring this rule back before you with the modified language now that we use to capture the intent and the thrust of the letter from Director Tavelli at the time. So that's what we're presenting before you now, is the additional revised language that was requested at 521.14. And basically that appears as paragraph 3 in the 14.5.2.8 G section there for solar PV systems. And the new paragraph states, nothing in this section shall be construed to prohibit a properly licensed person from performing work on solar PV systems, support structures, racking and mounting of panels, as long as it's within the scope of the licensee's license and upholds the manufacturer's original listing and labeling. So it's the position of the Electrical Bureau and those that we consulted with within CID, the General Bureau and Director and Deputy Director, to uphold the language there that would uphold the intent of Director Tavelli's letter. So we believe that we've accomplished that, and we present that again before you. And again, we're seeking permission to go to public hearing.
I got a question on that. What, as long as it's within the scope of the licensee's license, what license do you perceive as being required to do the racking system?
Here's the letter as was drafted by Director Tavelli was pretty much just flat out, that it doesn't have to be in the electrical discipline. It can be done by the General Bureau. And so what the Electrical Bureau struggled with that was that certain systems, as they come down from the manufacturer, if the racking system is part of their listing and labeling of their panels, how their panel would be installed, then it really should fall into the Electrical Bureau. But more and more PVC panels and manufacturers are not including that. As the industry is growing and diversified, there are separate manufacturers of racking systems, and then there is an entire plethora of structural mounting underpinning that then the racking system mounts on. So this is our attempt at stating that basically this would be the General Building Bureau's bailiwick. If it's not contained in the specific listing and labeling of the electrical industry, the manufacturer's listing and labeling of that then we don't have a dog in the fight. If another discipline that's properly licensed for that constructs that.
Yeah, because it's actually, we do a lot of them. It's pretty rare anymore that it comes as a complete system. So.
The Chairman Baker, Commissioner Casey, the solar industry is probably at the forefront of technological advances that's outstripping people's, contractors' ability to keep up with the technological improvements. We found ourselves in a position under the 2011 code of approving 1,000-volt systems that were not even yet addressed, but were captured in the 2014 NEC. But since we knew it was coming down that way, the TAC was able to move forward with that. but the industry is growing so fast, and the technological advances are
So we'd basically be looking at GB Cube as residential, GB 98, or the specialty in the structural steel.
And as we stated in our language, as long as it's within the scope of the licensee's license. So we believe that with that statement, that those different specialty licenses, as long as that's incorporated in their established license structure, we're fine.
Make a motion that we approve the send this out to public hearing as presented, based on the reasons that Mr.
Very good. Motion by Commissioner Casey, second by Commissioner Yearout. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Next item, 6, new business A2, Rule 14.5.9, NMAC Code Bond Determination.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. We're here again to talk about code bonds. So we've had a couple of meetings since then. Some I've been present for, some we've worked with the director and Commissioner Casey as well, and we've been emailing back and forth with Commissioner Woodman. So in front of you is the last draft we have with Commissioner Casey's notes, and I believe we also have some comments in here from Commissioner Woodman. And really what we'd like to see happen today is get you guys to give us some direction, and let's get this pushed back out to public hearings so we can move forward with it as soon as possible.
Question?
The draft rule can still be amended based on the comment received in the new public hearing, is that correct?
Yes, yeah, if it goes back to public hearing, we can't do.
And Mr. Chair, Commissioner Woodman, Commissioner Casey, the reason we brought this back is because we wanted to work with your council as well on this, and there were so many changes from the last version that we had to this version. We wanted to send it back up public hearing. We've had several meetings. We met with Jack Millard, also with Ronnie Trainer, with Commissioner Casey, and we've been including Commissioner Woodman as well. I think this is as far as we can carry this. We are okay with whatever you guys want to do here. I think that we've had our portion of the input on how our resources will be utilized, and now I think it's just a matter of you guys picking which route you want to go. I think the last item that's left that's a little bit of contention is the liability on whoever has pulled the permit, so usually your general contractor versus an individual sub. And so I know that Commissioner Casey and Commissioner Woodman have been working closely with us on this, and whatever the commission's desire is, we're happy to abide.
Yeah, I think the other issue I came up with actually is I actually in the end have a problem with the timeline we originally came up with, based on what the law actually says. Because the law actually says, you have 2 years to file
against the bond.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but that filing has to be certified by CID, according to the law. And so when we get into allowing the consumer 2 years to do that, we now have gone past what the law actually says we can do, because it says it has to be certified within 2 years. And so that's why I'd actually redrafted a little different timeline. But I will say 2 things. I'm okay if we want to go to public hearing, and then I'll be happy to go testify again, and I will be part of the public record, and then we can hash it out again, so we can keep this moving forward. I've got no problem doing that. I'm more happy to come testify again. That way we can keep this process going. I know, I got Ken's notes also. We've got, and it's always been, we've gone both ways. It's not a big point of contention to me whether we want to allow the sub to do it or the general. I'm not a personal belief, but it's not a deal breaker for me, so we can work around that. And some of the things he had were some good points. But if we want to go back to public hearing, I'm fine with that, and I'll come testify, and then we can try to hash out the timeline through that. And I'm perfectly fine with that.
And Mr. Chair, Commissioner Casey, members of the commission, on this issue, the timeline he's talking about is different from our compliance. Our compliance is 2 years from the date we become aware of it. Usually that's through a complaint. The code bond itself is strictly 2 years from probably the date of completion, the date the contractor walks off the job, whatever it may be, but it's tied to the project itself, not when we become aware of it.
Well,
So
the whole idea was,
timeline.
you know, we talked to RLI, and RLI said they were okay with us going beyond the 2 years if we just gave a notice saying there might be a complaint. The problem I have is there's more than just RLI in the bond market. And all one has to do is say, we don't agree with that, and they probably have the law on their side. And so that's where I started having a problem with it, which is why I changed the timeline a bit. But like I say, if I've got no problem if we want to send this to public hearing, I'll come testify again, and that way all the comments will be made, and we can, either through a meeting before the meeting, or whatever, we can get the timeline straight. But that way we're not waiting another 2 months to send it out to public hearing.
And Mr. Chair, Commissioner Casey, I think that's what we have now is something that I believe that everybody can live with. Regardless of those little changes that might come out through public hearing, they will be minor changes, so it's something that can be changed and then brought back to the commission to adopt. But I think everybody can live with this. We've spoken with the industry, we've spoken with the insurance companies. I think it's something that's going to work for the commission, for the department, and as well for the consumer.
Yeah. No, so I'll make a motion if you want to go ahead and do it for public hearing, and then, like I say, well, I'll come testify.
And of course, we'll notice it and make sure you guys are on ball, because I do want to hear comments from everybody on the commission that has a point of view as well. Members of the industry, I know Jack's here and he's been working with us very well. So,
and then that will allow us to make some minor changes. I mean, there's a couple I'd like to make, but I'm not going to do it now because I want to be able to move this thing forward and not have to delay it.
And I have a question. For my benefit, can you just give a summary of how this would work now in the marketplace, how this process?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, this is a avenue for us to deal with the code bond issue separate from the complaint issue. They work hand in hand, but because of the time constraints of the code bond and how quickly we have to turn around our determination, as Commissioner Casey pointed out earlier, this is a way for us to take those that are eligible for the code bond, which is very few actually because of the 2-year window, address them as quickly as possible, and that way ideally the consumer gets access to that bond as soon as possible. And as Commissioner Casey pointed out earlier, there's some contentions a little bit about which contractor is responsible for which portion, as well as how much time the consumer has to file with us to be eligible for the code bond. So they're kind of the sticking points of this question.
And Mr. Chair, Commissioner Edwards, the way that this was processed in the past, it was kind of put on the backside of the compliance issue, so we were waiting until after a determination was made by the commission. This puts it up front so that we can make sure not to miss that 2-year window. If they do bring a code bond request to us, that way it's the first sentence that's dealt with. Of course, we're always trying to give a contractor or a sub an opportunity to correct any violations they may have. And that's going to be the first thing. If they refuse to do so, then this comes into play. And I think it makes it very clear what their rights are. It gives them a chance to dispute a code violation determination we've made. So it gives the contractor their rights as well to have an opportunity to object and have that dealt with in the beginning, just basically on the code violation itself, not whether or not they're going to be subject to discipline by you, just if it is a code violation or not, and if it does, then attach the bond to it. And so by putting it in the front, I think it's going to be a much better process than what was used in the past, and we can make sure we don't miss a window with something that's brought to us timely.
It sounds like it.
As far as consumer protection goes, this is the best rule within our jurisdiction and authority that we can put forward that will help the consumer.
Commissioner Copeland?
What happens to this when we get a lot of these cases and we want the contractor back on the job? What happens to the bond? Where does that go?
All contractors must be allowed the opportunity to correct their mistakes, and we make that very clear to homeowners make that, when they tell us something along those lines, we tell them, okay, but understand at this point, because of the way the code bond works, you may not be eligible for the code bond.
If you don't want that contractor.
You don't want the contractor back on your property, because every contractor is allowed the opportunity to correct their mistakes. Whether that be in person or by hiring someone, depends on the circumstances.
And Commissioner Kaufman, you touched on a very good point there. We make sure that they're aware of that in the beginning. If they're not willing to let the contractor back on, it really becomes a civil dispute at that point. As most of these consumer-related issues are, it's a civil dispute they need to handle in court or mediation, whatever it may be that they happen to use. But if they're unwilling to let them back on the property, there's obviously more going on there than just a code violation.
Anything else? So is the motion?
I've already made the motion.
Second?
Was that a motion? Yeah, very good.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Casey, second by Commissioner Yearout. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
I'd like to just thank the Jack Millark and Randy Trainer of Santa Fe Housing Association and Commissioner Casey, Commissioner Wood, and others that have been instrumental. Justin and Amanda, we've all met several times on this. They've made trips to Albuquerque and really working together to ensure that this keeps moving. So I appreciate that. And just thank you for that participation.
One question. You mentioned Randy Trainer. He's an Okie, and I don't think he knows anything about construction. But,
he told us
I
that
just
up
wanted
front.
that to be.
He mentioned that up front. And we all agreed.
He fit right in.
Next item 6B, Administrative Prosecutor Settlement Agreement Presentation Procedure.
Chairman Baker, members of the Commission, you have in your packets a proposed settlement agreement presentment procedure. This arose as a result of some of the issues that we considered or heard public comment from last time. This is what CID has proposed we adopt as a procedure for when the administrative prosecutor is going to present a case for a settlement agreement or otherwise amend some provision of the notice of contemplated action. I did get an opportunity to review it. For the most part, I'm satisfied that it doesn't present any legal issues. It makes a lot of sense to me. There is the first provision there causes me a little bit of hesitation, and I'd like to ask an opportunity to maybe rework that language a little bit. It raises concerns about whether the chair or the vice chair has the authority to make the approvals that are contemplated under that, and also a concern about whether the commission, what, if any, authority the commission has to negate the administrative prosecutor's discretion in prosecution. I think they're solvable, so what I'm proposing is let me take this and work with both Justin and the administrative prosecutors and see if we can come to some more finessed language that resolves some of those issues and then present it at the September meeting for adoption or not. Or we can have a discussion on it today if you want to and move forward. It's really the will of the commission, but I think that's probably the most amicable way to get a final procedure in place.
And Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Luis worked with us. He was also at a meeting we had to discuss, how we're going to approach this issue. Of course, there wasn't a quorum there. On this, I would be fine with moving number one. I think it's the issue that is in least contention here. It deals more with the NCA process rather than the settlement agreement process. And so, I mean, if it gives your administrative, your civil attorney any heartburn over the administrative prosecutor's discretion and his duties, I'd be fine with just removing number one and moving forward with this as it's presented from 2.5.
That or Tums?
What's that?
That or Tums?
Tums, yeah.
I'm all for moving forward, so if this is part of the discussion.
What we could do is we could adopt numbers 2 through 5 as they exist now, and then I could bring a proposed amendment at the September meeting to bring in number 1.
I got some else issue that. If you remember in our phone call, I brought up, whether or not certain members ought to be able to actually look at the file, so we're not necessarily relying on hearsay from two different parties. And I had a thought after that, and one of them was, is the three of us that do the compliance for the meetings, would it not be possible for that person to actually, if we know there's going to be settlement agreements, for that person to actually review the file and he can give his recommendation also?
That's something we could consider doing, and maybe that would be something we'd incorporate to adopting procedure.
That makes me feel more comfortable in the whole thing, because then I feel like we're actually, because I mean, no disrespect intended, but we're gonna have the prosecuting attorneys say one thing, you guys are gonna come and say another thing, and then we're expected to find somewhere in the middle. And if one of us could actually review that and have a good feeling for it, I think that I'd feel more comfortable with that. But.
Then I think what I'm hearing you say is maybe you want me to take a little bit of time and work with you to incorporate those issues and then bring it back in September.
Well, can we go ahead and adopt the 2 through 5 day and just maybe do an amendment to that?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Because this is definitely 2 through 5 is definitely better than what we have right now.
And Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Commissioner Casey, I saw Amanda give me a thumbs up. I don't think that we need to have any thing on this for that purpose. CID can take that directly because you can tell us what to do right here. I think Amanda likes that opportunity to present it to you. So that's just something that we'll incorporate into the executive session. I mean, Amanda, that's not anything difficult for her and her team to implement. So as far as what we present to you, we can always show up with the entire file, and you want to see it, you get to see it. And I agree, the complaint committee having a first stab at it and seeing everything in the beginning so you can inform the commission on the committee itself, the commission, that's fine. And it's very easy for us to do. So.
Yeah, because originally I wanted, most commissions see it, and we just thought of what is, work every hearing and stuff. But I think if whoever's doing the compliance for that particular commission meeting could look, I think that would be helpful.
I agree, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Casey. This ensures that CID gets the proposed settlement in advance, so we provide it to you in advance of the meeting. But that also allows us to have the complaint committee weigh in on it ahead of the meeting. And so I think that this contemplates that kind of arrangement, and I mean, Amanda can take your marching orders from that right now.
Well, and so I mean, if it's okay with Luis, I'd like to go ahead and adopt 2 through 5 if we can. I'd make a motion for that, and that way, because like I say, this is 2 through 5 makes it far better than what we have right now.
Sure.
And so if we could do that, and then if we need to make a amendment, or if we don't, whatever we need to do to do that, to make it even better, I think it's fine. But I'd like to at least get something that makes it better from the get-go right now.
I think that I don't have any problem with that.
Very good. So we saved waiting for another meeting. So I take that a motion.
So then I'd like to make a motion that we accept items 2 through 5 and delete item 1 at this time.
Second. That's a photo finish. Okay, motion by Commissioner Casey, second by Commissioner Alvarado. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Next item. C, 6C, approval of electrical continuing education courses and providers.
Chairman Baker, Commissioners, you have before you the executive summary for the last 2 months of submittals of course providers and their instructors. These have been reviewed by the Electrical Technical Advisory Council Subcommittee and with the recommendation of the TAC and as presented by the Electrical Bureau, we present them for your approval.
I'll make a motion that we approve the electrical continuing ed classes as presented. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Casey, second by Commissioner Yearout. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next
Can I ask you one
item.
question before you go real quick?
Yes, sir.
Do the electrical inspectors take these courses also, or is this just for the contractors? Do you provide your own continuing ed for the inspectors? Or?
So, what you have before you in the continuing education classes, this is for journeyman licensing only. So for a person that has a journeyman electrical certificate in the state of New Mexico, they have a 3-year shelf life on their certificate. To renew their certificate, they have to have 8 hours of code change, which were invested heavily into the 2014 code change classes, and then 8 hours of other. So the other could be grounding and bonding, crane rigging, CPR, anything along those lines.
I guess my question was, you just provide different training for the inspectors, they would be the same course.
That's correct. Okay. For an electrical inspector in the state of New Mexico, they have to pass the state exam, which is a tough one. And then they have to certify nationally within a year of their employment, either as a state inspector or as a political subdivision. And then to maintain their national certificates as a requirement to continue as a certified electrical inspector, they have to keep their CEUs up with training. So,
but those aren't VCEs, right? Those are separate. Okay, that was my question. If they took the same class.
So the trainings that you get some automatic credit for being an inspector by a political subdivision of the state, and then the training that we provided by NFPA for 8 contact hours is contributory toward that.
All right.
And the state and municipal inspectors are not going to miss one of Kelly's training because he brings ribs, chicken, and homemade salsa.
Right. Well, I was just curious if they got to take the same continuing ed classes that they were so. See, so now you don't have to answer that question.
Well, to elaborate on that, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Casey, I'll put my 2 cents in. The course curriculum for CEU is pretty much set in Kelly. My program models Kelly's program, but it's about code updating and staying current with industry standards and practices, and that's what we try to do. We also give the inspectors light training, so some of it's very related, especially in the codes. So,
I was just curious if they had to take the same course.
But if they've got a journeyman's license, they got to have these separate.
Well, we actually we put their licenses, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Kaufman, we put their licenses in advance when they come to work as an inspector, so they shelve their licenses.
But they don't have to take ACEs?
They not for their journeyman cards. They do have to maintain their inspector certifications, and I think Kelly, along with Martine and Clay, will also testify that we give our staff probably approximately around 32 hours of training a year of CEU training, so they're constantly in training. So yeah, and a lot of it is like I said, life training related to the industry, current standards and updates in the codes.
I understand it's a lot, it's very grueling. It's a lot like training for the American Ninja Warrior.
No, we make you run around the block after the ribs.
It's a very strict regimen for physical prowess.
All right.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. You did pass that, so. 6D, approval of mechanical electrical education courses and providers.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. I'm here to ask for your approval of the courses submitted for mechanical and plumbing continuing education as presented in your packet. Be approved. These courses were, with their respective instructors, were reviewed by the Mechanical Bureau and passed, and meet the requirement for continuing education to renew mechanical plumbing journeyman certification for NMEC 14639 E&H.
A quick question for you. So you did mention the respective trainers, instructors. So these are all tied, even though we have organizations and or companies listed here, they're tied to a specific instructor that is given the class, right?
Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Yearout, that is correct. When we have a course approval packet come in for review, our subcommittee, the Technical Advisory Committee, which our Education Training Tax Subcommittee, will take and review the packet for the actual curriculums, and then we will also review an application for the individual instructor tied to that application for the curriculum they're going to present. So, and they get approved in 3-year intervals, just like our licensees do. So this way we're not doing it overly every 3 years. More than likely, there won't be any changes submitted. Some of these are being renewed as their, as their people either rotate out and they find another instructor, or they update their curriculum. but we'll have a mass change probably when we do the code adoption as we move closer to our newer codes.
Thank you. I move for approval.
Second.
Motion, Commissioner Urant, second by Commissioner Decker. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. 6E, appointment of General Construction Technical Advisory Member for Means Autogone. Is Mr. Autogone with us today?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the General Construction Bureau with TAC approval proposes to add retired CID General Construction Bureau Chief Fermin Autogone to the General Construction TAC. The proposal to add Fermin will add a balance to the construction TAC. Mr. Autogone has made himself available for guidance and questions that the General Construction Bureau may have. Mr. Autogone will bring a lifetime of construction experience and knowledge to the TAC. Mr. Autogone has been a great mentor and has always been a voice of reason by adding Fermin with a great wealth of knowledge and information about our industry. The General Construction TAC can continue to provide immediate recommendation to the General Construction Bureau. Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we approve Mr. Aragon to the General Construction Tax.
Motion by Commissioner Casey, second by Commissioner Edwards. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That was a no-brainer, by the way. So,
Thank you.
Thank you for our attention and going through the process. Next item, 6F, approval of licenses issued in May and June of 2014. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Chairman Baker, Commissioners. You've been provided, as always, a list of qualifying parties added to existing licenses and new licenses issued for June, May and June. We ask you to approve these as submitted.
Move for approval.
Second. Motion Commissioner Urant, second Commissioner Casey. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed no. Motion carries. Thank you very much. We'll now entertain a motion from the Commission to enter into executive session.
Mr. Chair, I move to close the meeting to the public and enter executive session to discuss the cases listed under agenda items 7A through F, pursuant to NMSA 1978, sections 10-15-1, subsections H1, 3, and 7. Such discussions pertain to the issuance, suspension, renewal, revocation of licenses, deliberations on pending administrative adjudicatory proceedings, and pending of threatened litigation.
I'll second that.
It has been moved and seconded that the Commission close this meeting to the public and enter executive session to discuss the case listed under agenda items. 7A through F. Is there any discussion on the motion? We will proceed to roll call vote on the motion. In this fourth date, please call the names of each commissioner to ascertain his or her vote on the motion.
Commissioner Casey?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaufman?
Yes.
Commissioner Alvarado?
Yes.
Commissioner Bickley? Yes. Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Yura?
Yes.
Commissioner Decker?
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards? Yes. Commissioner Wooten?
By vote of 7 in favor, I'm sorry. By a vote of 9 in favor and 0 opposed, the motion passes. We're now entering an executive session. Time is 11:12.